I'm Elex Michaelson. This week, the issue is the race for the U.S. Senate. With us, the Democratic frontrunner in that race right now, Congressman Adam Schiff in studio. Plus, standing by, the highest-ranking woman in the history of the U.S. Congress, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, as the issue is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, you're watching The Issue Is.
And thanks for doing this with us.
It's great to be with you and great to make the announcement on your show.
It has been exactly 1 year since Congressman Adam Schiff launched his campaign for the U.S. Senate right here on The Issue Is. To mark that anniversary, he's back here on The Issue Is on the same week where we were together for the first TV debate in the U.S. Senate race. Congressman Adam Schiff, welcome back to The Issue Is, and I guess happy anniversary.
Thank you. I'm delighted to spend my anniversary with you.
Yeah, exactly. Your wife is here on the side, so
yes.
There's that
There's
too.
that anniversary, but that's next month.
Yeah. So what does that, though, mean to you? What has been the biggest sort of thing you've learned actually doing this? Because you've talked about doing this for so many years, but actually doing it.
When you run statewide and you spend time in parts of the state you haven't spent as much time in the past, it exposes you to a whole range of other challenges. In the Central Valley, there are thousands and thousands of people who can't drink the water. The extent of asthma among young people in the Central Valley because of the air quality problems, the rural hospitals that are shutting down, the lack of broadband access, a lot of problems you associate with other parts of the country. And when it's hammered home that actually, if the Central Valley were its own state, it'd be the poorest state in the union, it's pretty striking.
Probably the most high-profile moment of this entire campaign so far happened this week. The debate broadcast all over the state, getting coverage all over the world. What was your big takeaway from debate night?
My big takeaway was the moderator was excellent.
Oh, my God.
Wouldn't you say that's
the correct answer?
I think that's, of course, talking about Melanie, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Your co-host.
Of Politico, yes.
You know, I was surprised. I was surprised by a couple of things. I was surprised that Garvey was so ill-prepared, but more than that, I was surprised that he made it so personal in our interaction. I challenged him on the lack of a housing policy, the lack of really any specifics, and he got very personal in a way I wasn't expecting, and my sense was he didn't want to say that he's going to be for Donald Trump. He voted for him twice. He didn't want to say he's going to vote for him again, but he's going to vote for him again. But in order to make sure that he scored points with the MAGA base of Donald Trump, attacking Adam Schiff is the next best thing to pledging your fealty to Donald Trump.
Well, and you attacking him also helps him with the MAGA base as well. But what he said was that you lied to 300 million Americans by basically inflating the case when it comes to collusion and Donald Trump. And he doubled down on that this week on Fox Business. Here's some of that.
He lied to the people. He was censored. And we, the people, 300 million people know that.
So what is your response to that? That essentially you made this case bigger than it was in order to score political points yourself, and you shouldn't be trusted because of it.
This is Donald Trump's argument. This is the no collusion, no obstruction mantra of Trump. The facts, though, are very different. As I laid out during the debate, Donald Trump's campaign chairman was secretly meeting with Russian intelligence and giving them their internal polling data while Russian intelligence was helping their campaign. Everybody other than Donald Trump recognizes, okay, that's certainly collusion. So Garvey there is being dishonest, but look, he's carrying the water for Donald Trump. The censure was a partisan censure, and Donald Trump made sure it would pass by threatening anyone who voted against it with being suffering a primary challenge.
One of the biggest differences on the Democratic side between you and Katie Porter is over this issue of earmarks, which is essentially a way that members request funding for their own districts. She says it's a corrupt system. She doesn't partake in it. You have partaken in it, as do most members. Lou Correa, the Democrat from Santa Ana, who's just next door to Katie Porter, endorsed you this week and said that earmarks was a big reason for that. Can you talk to us more about that conversation and also what that means to you?
Well, and I'm very proud to have Lou's endorsement, and not only Lou's endorsement, but now the endorsement of every other Orange County representative of Congress other than Katie Porter has endorsed my campaign. It's not all about earmarks. I think, frankly, bringing back money to California is indicative of something broader, which is the senator going to fight to help Californians? Any senator who says, I'm not going to do that, when every other senator in the country is saying basically, I'd rather that money go to New York, I'd rather it go to Ted Cruz in Texas, I'd rather go anywhere but California. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing everything to meet the needs of Californians, not just a poll-driven talking point.
Let's talk about the issue of housing affordability, which in a lot of ways is kind of the biggest issue in the entire state. How do we make homes more affordable? How do we keep Californians living in California?
We need to make a lot more housing. We need to build a lot more housing. And you're absolutely right. It's, I think, the top crisis in the state, my top economic priority is bringing down the cost of housing. To build housing, you've got to dramatically increase federal tax credits, the low-income housing tax credit. You've got to make a stronger direct investment in housing, and you've got to eliminate some of the roadblocks at the local level. We can't take 4 years to build housing. We'll never solve this problem if it takes 4 years to get through all the red tape to build housing. But we can do this, but it's going to require a lot of changes.
You've got ads running about Donald Trump and your ability to fight back against him if he were to win the presidency again. We know that he doesn't really love you. He calls you pencil neck and all the rest of it. If he becomes president and if you're the senator, how do you work together? And are there any issues where you could actually work together?
First of all, if he becomes president, I think we're in deep trouble. This is someone who says he's going to be a dictator on day one. But more than that, what I've demonstrated throughout my time in Congress is even in the most difficult times, there's still ways to work together. On the Intelligence Committee, where Devin Nunes and I fought cats and dogs over Russia and Ukraine and presidential abuse of power, every year we still got our intelligence authorization bills done. I have a long record of working across the aisle to get things done, and I'll continue to do that.
Is there any particular issue you think you might be able to do with him?
You know, I remember one of the meetings I had with Donald Trump when he was president. I brought up infrastructure. He was always talking about infrastructure week, and yet we got no infrastructure while he was president. And I was saying we need to work together on that. And I also brought up with him the need to bring down prescription drug prices, something he said he was for.
Does he call you pencil neck in person?
Actually, no. He was, very cordial in person. And but look, it's part of his, part of his shtick. To go after anyone who stands up to him. And one thing you can tell about Donald Trump, he ignores the people that don't concern him. He goes after people that he thinks are effective. In fact, the first thing he said to me when I walked in the Oval Office was, you do a really good job, which I'm sure what he meant was on television, because that's what he cares about. And I have to tell you, it was kind of an awkward silence, because when someone tells you do a really good job, the human instinct is to say, well, so do you. But I could not bring myself to say that.
One of the big fights right now is over the border. There's a fight in the Senate among Republicans, some of whom want to do a deal with Democrats, some of whom do not. Donald Trump is saying don't do a deal with Democrats. If you're in the Senate, what would you like to see be done at the border, assuming that you believe that there is a real crisis there?
There is a crisis at the border. There are lots of people coming, fleeing violence, seeking a better life. And the best thing we could do, I think, is make it possible and safe for people to apply for asylum in their home countries. Now, that's not always possible, but it's infinitely preferable to people making that dangerous journey to the country and then having to wait years and years for their claim to be processed, their petition. We do need, for those who do come to the country, to be able to move much more quickly in assessing these asylum petitions. Are they valid? Are they not? It's not good for people to wait in limbo for years, and it's not good for the country.
I want to end with something fun. We play personal issues on this show, and I'm curious, when you were doing debate prep, were you prepping for personal issues questions coming at the end of the debate?
I don't know if we were prepping,
okay.
but I have to give credit, if I can, to Eric Swalwell, one of my debate partners, who did an amazing Steve Garvey.
Okay, that's interesting to think. Well, I really wanted to do personal issues at the debate, but we ran out of time, and it was devastating for me. So I'm now going to ask you the personal issues questions that I wanted to ask on the debate stage. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, here we go. What is the last TV show you binged?
I think it was Old Man with Jeff Bridges.
Oh, your guy. Best karaoke song for you?
Oh, gosh. I Did It My Way.
Nice to think of that. Who would you want to play you in a biopic?
Oh, I have to tell you, I did an event with Robert De Niro. And he asked me who I wanted to play me in the movie.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, who do you want to play in the movie? He says, I could do Adam Schiff. And then he paused for a long time, Elex, and he says, yeah, I could definitely do Adam Schiff. And I realized you can't ask a serious actor that question without them really thinking it over.
So there you go.
So I know who I want to play me.
Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
There we go. Maybe you can sing My Way as part of the movie. All right. Up next, we've got your pal, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker Emerita. We'll be talking to her in part about why she's backing you. We go to break with some music. This is Life in the Fast Lane by the Eagles, because I can imagine what the pace is going to be like for you between now and March 5th, the last day to vote.
You're reminding me of a line from The Big Lebowski, which I can't say on the air, about the Eagles.
Adam Schiff, thank you. More of the issue as we come back. Great to see you. Thank you.
To the first woman speaker in our history, the gentlelady from California, Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi is the first and so far only woman to lead the U.S. House of Representatives. She's one of the most effective speakers in the history of the Congress, something both her critics and opponents would agree on. Joining us now from the Bay Area, the Speaker Emerita, and the Congress member from San Francisco, the Honorable Nancy Pelosi. Welcome back to The Issue Is.
It's my pleasure to be with you, Elex. Thank you for the opportunity.
Let's start with the Senate race in California. You have worked with all three of the leading Democrats in the polls right now. Why are you backing Congressman Adam Schiff?
Well, Elex, for the past 20 years, as Speaker of the House for 8 and 12 as leader, I have had the responsibility to look out for California in a very serious way. I want us to have the strongest possible person in the Senate to look after California. So we have great members in the House, but we need our strongest possible person in the Senate with values, with a legislative acumen and skill, with the commands and respect of his colleagues. 70% of the California members, Democratic members, have endorsed him. I'm very proud to support Adam Schiff for Senate.
I know you watched our debate this week where we had all of the leading candidates on stage. What stood out to you at that debate?
Well, I thought that Adam was very senatorial. I thought that Barbara Lee was very gracious in her point of view, and certainly Katie was as well. We're fortunate to have three fine candidates for Senate. I was quite mystified by the Republican candidate, but again,
Steve Garvey.
Yeah, I had never seen him before, except on the baseball field, and it was curious.
Curious. What do you mean by that?
The United States Senate is a very competitive arena. I know he knows about competitiveness, competition, and he talked about his being a team builder and the rest. But some of the skills that he has do not transfer into being an effective legislator in the United States Senate. To say that he went around for 3 weeks and listened to people, and that's what made him really capable to be a senator, really, 3 weeks? I mean, I've been doing this for 35 years. We have to have people of all, shall we say, time frames and ages in all of this. To think that 3 weeks of listening to some people was a qualification to be the senator from the biggest state in the union with some of the greatest challenges and opportunities, as I said. So it was interesting, the choice that the Republicans have made.
What is the nature of your relationship with Congresswoman Porter? I know sometimes she's talked about how the two of you would butt heads.
Oh, no. I mean, I have complete respect for all of my members. I don't put any of them in a situation, nor they would flatter themselves to think that I was butting heads with them, because I usually am not. I mostly am not. Every member is a vote. If it's not today, tomorrow is another day. So I treat them all with respect. I didn't agree with the characterizations that Congresswoman Porter presented about Congress not doing this and that and the other thing. So I was disappointed in how she diminished what Congress had done rather than taking pride for any role that she may have had in it.
There was a moment that went viral recently of Donald Trump likely talking about you, but saying Nikki Haley's name instead when talking about, we think, January 6th. Take a look.
Nikki Haley, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything? Deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, so whatever they want. They turned it down.
And what do you make of what he's saying there?
Well, first of all, two things. First of all, he has a cognitive disorder. It wasn't that he just had a slip of the tongue of using a name one time for another. Anybody can do that. But he was making a case. But really more dangerous than getting us mixed up, more dangerous was his charge that we were not accepting his troops. We begged him for hours and hours, and he wouldn't do it. And his underlings, the Secretary of the Army and the Acting Secretary of the Defense, wouldn't do it. And for hours, people suffered. Well over 100 police officers were injured. People died. And then, not only did he incite an insurrection, but he lied about the National Guard. We don't have any authority to call up the National Guard. The president does. Governors of states do. And he wouldn't do it. And he either knows, I don't know how bad off he is, but he either is misrepresenting the facts or doesn't know the facts, but he caused a big problem for our country, and he is not above the law. He should pay a price for that, and he should never step foot in the White House for any purpose whatsoever.
When you say he has a cognitive disorder, what do you mean?
Well, how silly is it that he's saying that she was that part of January 6th? Don't you think that indicates something wrong here? And continued it and just reinforced the message. And it's not only that. The list of misrepresentations that he made is endless. But I don't want to talk about him.
Yeah.
We don't agonize about him. We organize about getting out the vote to win the House, win the Senate, and win the White House.
And let's wrap up just saying something fun about you, to get to know you a little bit. We play a game called Personal Issues. These are rapid-fire things. First thing that comes to mind to know you. So many people consider you their role model. Who is your role model?
Oh, my mother, of course. Wouldn't we all say that? But in my case, it happens to be true. She was wonderful, and she cared about our country, and she was a mother of 7 children, and my father, of course, was mayor of Baltimore and congressman and all of that, but she was the one who took it home to people, really. She was wonderful.
Oscar nominations came out this week. Do you have a favorite movie of the year?
Now, that is a level of politics that I am not equipped to deal with.
Okay. Barbie, come on, it's on brand for you. What is your favorite book of all time?
Oh, I have several favorite books, but the one I've been recommending, I don't know, the Bible, I guess I'll say. Wouldn't that be a safe bet?
That's safe, but is there something else other than the Bible?
Any books that any of my children have written. Christine has written books on organizing. Alexandra has written books on communications and the rest. So I would say any books Christine Pelosi or Alexandra Pelosi have written.
Hey, Christine?
There's one book that I think I want people to read. It's called The Age of Wonder. And it's about things that have happened in the history of the world that have been so important, things that are remarkable to behold. Age of Wonder.
And Christine's been on with us in the past promoting her book, which was great to talk with her. Last question. I think I know your answer to this. Do you have a favorite musician or musical group?
Oh, my gosh. I have so many. And I love, of course, the Grateful Dead, and I love U2. And I've been to so many different concerts. But rather than tell you that, let me tell you the one that I never saw.
Okay.
Queen. So I watched Bohemian Rhapsody maybe 15 times, maybe 16 times, just to hear the music. And I had the opportunity maybe to see the current queen, that is
With Adam Lambert.
not the complete queen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm hoping that I can do that sometime soon. So again, I love the Grateful Dead. I go to all of their last performances. And I'm hoping to see you two at the Sphere in Las Vegas.
But I do know that you are a U2 fan, and I heard that you love the song One by U2. So as we say, thank you for being here, and we really appreciate the time. An honor to talk with you. We go to break with music from U2. Here's one. Speaker Pelosi, thank you so much.
Thank you, LK. Thank you.
It's really good to be home.
This week, Vice President Kamala Harris met with leaders of California's Democratic caucus to talk about the year ahead. On Monday, she'll be in San Jose to discuss the fight to protect abortion rights. We will be traveling with the Vice President on Air Force 2 for the day. Look for our exclusive one-on-one with Vice President Kamala Harris next week on The Issue Is.
I needed to talk to the homeless, went up to them and touched them and listened to them.
As somebody who's been unsheltered, I cannot believe how he described his walk and touching.
If you missed our showdown for the U.S. Senate program this week, you can watch it right now on the Fox 11 Los Angeles YouTube page or foxla.com. You can also stream it in podcast form. Just search for The Issue Is wherever you stream, which also features interviews from our show. A big shout out to everyone who watched, submitted questions, and helped make that debate happen. A huge thanks to our partners at Politico, USC, KFI, California Environmental Voters, and the biggest thanks to The Issue Is behind-the-scenes team who made the debate look so spectacular. Look at that, from the lighting to the set to the camera shots, the directing. Job well done to everybody, including my co-host Melanie Mason. We'll see you next week with the Vice President. Thanks for watching The Issue Is.